Hello, Deacon Clark.
Hello, Mr. Sherrill.
Could you tell us a little bit about your vocation story?
Well, I was born as a member of a Methodist church and was happy there during my childhood. But when I went off to college, I stopped going to church and I wasn't very religious. I was out partying every weekend and just never went to church on Sunday morning. When I graduated law school, I joined this big, fancy, highfalutin law firm, and I quickly rose through the ranks by backstabbing my coworkers and making sideways deals. By the time I was 35, I had made partner and was making millions of dollars in just a few months. I continued this until I turned 38 when I met someone. I married her when I was 39 and put my career behind me. My wife turned around my life. I could see God in her, and this led me to see God in everything. I started looking at everything differently. I saw God in the trees, in the flowers, in every little thing that existed. We adopted a child from a war-torn country, and I saw God in him. I joined the church at 40 to give my family the best experience possible. Everything I do is for them. I quit my job and worked pro bono cases at a homeless shelter. I lived off of the millions of dollars I made earlier as a sellout and dedicated my life to God and helping the homeless. I became a deacon at 45 after spending 5 very rewarding years at the local church parish. Being a deacon has been the greatest thing for me. I have taken a full-time job at the homeless shelter, but I still don't have any compensation. I feel as though I'm following the path God has set out for me.
So, Deacon Clark, how was it like to train and prepare to be a deacon?
It was tough. I had a diploma and I was in good health. I was 45 years old, meeting the age requirement of 35 years old. I also met the marriage requirements as well. That being, you had to be married before you apply for a deacon. I had to submit an application through my priest, and this involved intensive screening. There were several rounds of interviews, including my child and my wife. I had to compile and include in the application a certificate of baptism, confirmation of marriage, proof of age, a recent photograph of myself, a recent photograph of my wife, a letter of consent from my wife, letters of recommendation, including one from my current employer, recent medical records, an academic transcript, a background check, proof of legal residency, and a report from the rector.
So, Deacon Clark, would you tell us about your ordination ceremony?
Well, the ordination ceremony was a spectacular event. It took place during Mass after the Gospel was read. And the first part of the ceremony is the presentation of the candidates, which is like a roll call. The bishop makes sure that the candidates are worthy of ordination, and the rector gives a recommendation type statement to the bishop, verifying that the candidates are worthy. The bishop says that he has chosen the candidates to be ordained, and the congregation applauds to show they approve of the bishop's decision. So that's the first part of the ceremony. The second part of the ceremony is when we actually are ordained, and that's after the bishop preaches a homily based on the gospel that was read earlier. So after the homily, the candidates take a vow of celibacy, and then there's an examination, which is a series of questions and the promise of prayer. This is a very important part of the ceremony because we are vowing to live the life of a deacon. The bishop then invites the congregation to pray that the Father will mercifully pour out his blessings on these servants whom in his kindness he raises to the sacred order of the diaconate. Finally, the bishop actually ordinates the candidates. He extends his hand over the candidates and begins the prayer of consecration. After that, the candidates are deacons.
What are the rules for permanent deacons in marriage?
There are a lot of rules. You have to be between the age of 30 and 55 years old. You have to be recommended by the pastor of your parish, and you have to already have been involved in the parish ministry for an extended period of time. In my case, I'm married, so I had to be married at least 5 years, and I had to be in a stable relationship. I have to be physically and emotionally healthy and free of any substance dependency, which I am. I have a clean criminal background, which matches the rules. The candidate for the deacon has to be economically stable and self-sufficient. If the candidate was not raised Catholic, in my case, 5 years must have elapsed since I joined and I was baptized. Graduation from high school or a high school equivalent is required. I have to have a willingness to make a commitment to all aspects of the discernment or formation of the program. I'm expected to successfully complete the necessary studies required during the formation program. My wife has to demonstrate her support and affirmation of my decision and be willing to participate in those programs and activities where the participation of my wife is required.
So, Deacon Clark, our last question is, what's the greatest blessing and challenge of being a deacon?
I'm going to address the challenges first. I think that the greatest challenge is living a dual vocation, that being my marriage and the diaconate. It's hard for me to love so much stuff at once. I feel blessed, but at the same time, that blessing is a challenge. Also, some problems that my co-deacons have is that they have to work their own jobs. I'm working down at the homeless shelter, but I'm doing that out of the goodness of my heart, not because I need the financial stability. That is some of the other deacons' greatest challenges. One of the blessings I have is that I feel that I am fulfilling a need within the church. I am allowing the church to grow and prosper. There's room for development inside of me, and I am allowing that to be fulfilled.